Hey, good morning, everybody. Tom Davis from Student Athlete World, Director of Recruiting and also Rawlings Tigers Elite Baseball in Pittsburgh, coming to you with another day of interviews. Today, I'm going to start off with a really good guy who can give you some tremendous information about college baseball from all the experience and knowledge he has. His name's Jim Chester. He's the head coach at Gardner Webb. I'm looking forward to taking my Rawlings Tigers team down to one of the tournaments that they put on down in North Carolina this summer. Without further ado, Coach Jim Chester, it's your show, and I'll just sit there and try to keep you under control a little bit.
Well, good luck with that. No, I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity to jump on and talk, a little bit about myself, Gardner Webb, baseball. I'm excited for us to be able to spend some time together.
That's awesome. Hey, Coach, if you would just give everybody a little bit of your background, your bio, coming up through the playing and college ranks, and let them see the knowledge that you've gained over that period.
Yeah, absolutely. Born and raised right outside of McKeesport, Pennsylvania. I was in a little town, Glassport, Liberty Borough area. From there, I went to Sarah Catholic High School. And then after that, I played 4 years at Teal College, which is just north of Pittsburgh, and was able to be there. My college coach, Joe Shawley, was his first year at Teal was my freshman year. So I was really blessed to be around a really good coach who, comes from an outstanding baseball family, no doubt. And they, was able to watch a program get built from the inside. And, we were not very good as a freshman, and then we won the conference tournament as a senior. So I was blessed to be a part of that process and really have coach in my corner. And, I thank him all the time. I remember my exit meeting my senior year, coach was, one of my plans were, all my plans was to be a teacher and a coach. And my coach said to me, you should get into college coaching. He recommended that to me. I'll never forget. And, next thing you know, here we are in the Zoom. So it was, I'm blessed that he, he felt that maybe I had that quality inside of me, and, and like I said, was able to run with that forward. So I accepted a graduate assistant position at Seton Hill University, and I was there for the first 2 years of that program. And then from there, I spent a very brief time at Point Park as an assistant. And then I actually got out of baseball for about 4 months. And I sold copiers and printers for 4 months, and it was the most miserable 4 months of my life. So I share that a lot. And then, I got blessed from there. I got lucky and became the head coach at Mercyhurst Northeast Junior College. And then from there, I had an opportunity to come back home, and I was the director of athletics and head baseball coach, admissions counselor, you name it. I kind of had all kinds of roles at Penn State, Greater Allegheny. I was there for 7 years. And then from there, I was able to land the position of head baseball coach at Lock Haven University, Division II, in the PSAC. From there, my wife and I, our family, aspired to get to a little bit warmer weather. I got the position as head baseball coach at Barton College in Wilson, North Carolina. And it was a brief stop there. I was there for about 1 year and 9 months. And next thing you know, I had the opportunity to go to Gardner Webb, Division I institution in Boiling Springs, North Carolina, outside of Charlotte, right on the South Carolina border. And here we are today. So there's a lot in between, and very supportive family. And, if anybody needs some tips on how to move, I think I could probably help on that end too. So I've kind of been around the world, not around the world, but around the East Coast a little bit.
Oh, that's good, because I'll tell you what, and you being a Pittsburgh guy and all that, I'm going to tell you one thing. You should be glad you're not up here now. because, I was just sharing this morning, 11 inches we have on the ground up here, Coach. And,
Well, Coach, I'm here. I'm in Pittsburgh.
oh,
So
you are?
I'm at my dad's right in the background here, right through these windows. We were going to leave yesterday to come up north. My wife's from Pittsburgh too. And, we bit the bullet and said, we're going to come visit a little bit of family and, do what we need to do. And, before Christmas. And, we were going to leave yesterday. And then I got a little experience with the weather. I looked at it, being a baseball coach, you spend your time on these apps, but I said, honey, we need to leave Tuesday. So we did. And so I've been blessed. First time I've seen snow over like a quarter of an inch in 5 years. So it's we definitely got it pretty good.
Hey, be glad you're not up at Lock Haven now. I think, they're in that 3-foot area that they were talking about up there in central PA.
I know. I saw on Facebook this morning on some friends and old colleagues there. They got the measuring sticks out, not the rollers. You know what I mean? They got the long yard. They got a yardstick out. So it's definitely. I miss it. Don't get me wrong. I love. But last Sunday it was 70 degrees, so that actually was not. I kind of enjoyed that too in North Carolina. So.
I hear you. Actually, with our Rawlings organization, Coach Tim Jones, the regional director for Rawlings Tigers Pittsburgh, and I are going to be heading January 15th to Fort Myers with our 15U national team to, go with them, kind of chaperone, help the coaches and players and stuff. So I can't wait to get down into some 80-degree weather down there in Florida.
Amen.
I'm just going to go into the depth of what we're going to talk about today. I mean, your background, great background. And, you mentioned Coach Shalley. I will tell you what, I played against his dad when I was at the University of Charleston, and we played Marietta when he had that powerhouse program. When I was at the University of Charleston coached against him. And, great family. He's still there. And his brother's at Ashland, I believe.
Yeah, he is. Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I went and watched them play UC last year down at in a thing. And he's done a tremendous job with that Ashland program too. So great baseball family. But, getting back to you and your bio and everything, I mean, you've come up, you've coached a lot of divisions. Just in your opinion and the way that you think about it, Coach, the differences in the levels of baseball, Division I, II, III, NAI, and I mean, you've been there at Greater Allegheny. So talk a little bit about your beliefs in that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of different pieces. I think baseball is a unique sport to where there's a lot of overlap, in a lot of different ways. And I use this example a little bit, and just let me just be specific, and I don't mean this exactly in so many ways, but like Gardner Webb, like if we played Clemson in baseball, I mean, it's a tough task. It's a very tough task. But we got a chance to beat them. We do in a 9-inning baseball game, anything can happen. If we played in football, the chance of probably beating them is a little different. And I only say that in so many ways that I think that there's a lot of more variables in baseball than there is a lot of. So I just try to say, like I said, I've been so blessed. I'm glad that I can share some insight to a lot of people about, for whatever it's worth. I've been a junior college head coach, D3, D2, D1, and I've been able to be at all those different levels and recruit and see a lot of the differences and things. But I know for a fact, I had players at Penn State, Greater Allegheny that were Division I players by the time they graduated. Now, I'm not saying there was a ton of them, but there was X amount of guys that had tools that got developed that could do it. Had a couple arms for sure that went on and played some professional baseball, had a few position players, there's no doubt. Same thing goes at Lock Haven. We had more than a handful of guys draft pick, independent guys, different things that could play Division I baseball and different things. And so what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of guys that overlap and do a lot of things at a lot of different levels and a lot of things. So it's hard to just kind of pinpoint. I mean, I think it's like anything in life. I think it's timing. And I think what's important, and I like to share this too, because I was a Division III player, so proud of it, made lifelong friendships and just I'm sometimes maybe more of an advocate of small college baseball than I am, the level I'm at in so many ways, but what I'm meaning is everyone's got this D1 or bust mentality. And I we try really hard, especially at camps, like we've done fairly well at our camps, when we didn't have the dead period. And when we have 70, 80 young men, like they all come to camp because they want to play at Gardner Webb, and that's great. And the reality of it is, though, that it's not all fit academically, athletically, whatever it might be. So I try to explain to them, like, I try to give the experiences we had at Greater Allegheny or a lot of places, and I try to say, like, there's a place for everybody, and there's a great experience for you at all levels. And I think that's extremely important to make sure that, that we communicate. Measurables are important. They really are. I mean, like, but again, too, I mean, I think that goes beyond a lot of the pieces as far as like, okay, like you don't run a 6'8" or 6'7", you can't play Division I baseball, because that's not true. You don't throw 93, so you can't, like that's not true. Like, it's not true in that end. So, I mean, I think every coach, what I think is really important is, when I recruited at Mercyhurst Northeast, there was a niche to that place. There was a niche. At Greater Allegheny, there was definitely a niche. There were certain guys, certain areas, certain things. We just didn't go in and recruit it. We kind of stayed focused on, certain things. Same thing went for Lock Haven, and the same thing's going on at Gardner Webb. We've identified our name. It takes a little bit of time, but we've kind of, we're kind of figuring out where can we get players, what's the model, what do we want to do, some of those things. So, I just, I should be here, pumping up Division I baseball, but I think it's important, especially, the people that might be viewing this and the people you work with. There's so much more to college baseball than, what you see, on TV sometimes in so many ways. So I don't know if I directly answered your question, but that's kind of, where I was going with it.
You did. And you know what? You hit on a point that I talk to, my players, my clients, and that all the time. I mean, you talk about timing, and it's like you said. Now I'm just going to ask, just go a little bit further. Do you look at a kid projectable wise for you, Coach?
Yeah. I mean, 100%. I mean, I'm big into, like, what's this kid going to look like in a year or two? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, yeah, 100%. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that. If I've had a struggle, and I've had a lot of struggles, or, when you take over a new job, and I'm not perfect at anything, trust me. But, I've never been an early recruiter. I've made a career off of, getting guys late, or kind of getting in and getting on the better guys that kind of fall through the cracks maybe in some ways, and got lucky and got a few. So I've been adjusting a little bit to, like, having to recruit sophomores or even like juniors early in some ways at Gardner Webb. But, still, we're still, it's not a lot different from when I was at Lock Haven or other places. Like, 23, we get him to call us, and he doesn't really want to go to Gardner Webb. He wants to go to UCLA, or he wants to go to Carolina or North Carolina, or South Carolina, or wherever it might be. Like, so we're working through our niche on how to blend what's considered Division I recruiting versus old methods, new. So there's a lot of moving pieces as far as it goes.
You like I said, I really respect you. I know that you have a great background and knowledge and all that, and it's so interesting. It's like you said, so many people get in that D1 or bust thing, and just to know that going and playing in college is just tremendous. I mean, D3 baseball, now, you know as well as I do. I mean, you know, it was so funny because I was talking with Tim Ryerson, our president, in his interview, and he was talking about he was doing a big recruiting camp, and he's like, "How many of you have been to a D1 game and everything?" And he's like, everybody throws their hands up. How many of you have gone to see Division II or Division III? And it's like, you know, you see a few hands. He's like, go and watch them play so that you know. I mean, and you know, the people that did, he's like, they're like, man, I got there, and it's like, wow, these guys can play baseball.
Yeah, Coach, I used to all the time when I was back here in Pittsburgh, like I tried to get involved with as much as I could when I was at Greater Allegheny. The rules were a little more lax where I could help summer teams do different things. I was running around everywhere, and I loved it. And I would tell kids, they'd be like, I want to play at Clemson, or I want to play wherever, you know, and I would be like, look, hey, I think this is when Pitt was in the Big East. And I'd be like, hey, Louisville's coming to town. Like, go watch a game, see what it looks like. And listen, I just went through this last year in a little bit of ways because I was like, you know, I felt like I coached 5 years in two of the better Division II conferences. And in some years, you could say the PSAC was #1. And in Conference Carolinas, where I was in, you know, with Mount Olive, North Greenville, Belmont, some of those schools, like, you're talking about some of the best teams in D2. Like, I felt like I saw some really good Division II baseball. And I know what those guys looked like and how they moved around the field. So I was really interested when we went and played. Do you know what I mean? Like, we only played 16 games, but when we played the mid-majors, I saw a lot of similarities to very good Division II, like a lot of it. You know what I mean? There's a lot from physicality, body type, just a lot of different things. Now, we got on the bus and went down and played Georgia Tech. And this is, I tell you, so we got off the bus and they came out of the locker room. I wasn't sure if it was their football team or their baseball team. So there's a lot of, you talk about different divisions and there's different levels of Division I. You know, so there's a lot of different things. But to go back to your point, your boss is 100% correct. Like, come see, you know what I mean, go around. I think a lot of times too much that, you know, people will look into, like, well, so-and-so committed here, so I can play here, and like in a lot of those different ways. And there's a difference of playing in you know, I don't like to use the word playing. I like to use the word experience.
Sure.
Experience is a key word in this, because what are you trying to get out of your experience? Do you know what I mean? If it's playing every day from the time you walk on campus, is it earning an opportunity? Is it I'm okay with serving a role? You know what I mean? Do I want this specific major with this opportunity and experience? There's a lot of things that, you know, I try to explain this to friends of mine, or, you know, just other people connected with, like, you know, you got to know what you really want to do. You know what I mean? Going into it. You know, again, everybody wants to play. Everyone wants to play every day, but, you know, you might be a role guy, you know, mid-major Division I, or you could be a weekend arm Division III. I mean, that's 100%, you know, the way it works. So, listen, you saw it again, and I know we might talk about the transfer portal a little later. Listen, this whole COVID thing and everything, you wait till you see what happens this year at Division I with the amount of Division III and Division II grad transfers that have jumped up, and see some of the stuff they've done. And again, I don't need to get in depth around, but we got one. I mean, we got a pretty special one. And I, you know, was a Division III player that's gonna, you know, knock on wood, do some special things for us this year. So you're gonna see some of it kind of come in full circle this year during the season.
You're exactly right. And you know what, I talk to my clients, I do my posts, and when I'm consulting with them or with prospective clients, I'm like, you know what, I said, the recruiting thing right now it's going to, for the next 5 years, it's not going to be the same. I mean, I have a young lady now, and, you know, not mentioning names, but, you know, she was a Division I soccer recruit. And you know the area up here. She was from Trinity High School, very good and everything. And well, all of a sudden, she got the message, well, all the seniors are coming back. We don't have a place for you. They got a hold of me, and we're working with her, right now. Yeah, so stuff like that. I mean, the extra years that you can put on the transfer portal, the NJC, AA, giving that extra year. So I mean, there are so many things that like you were saying, that you have to take in mind, and you being able to take advantage of it. But yeah, I mean, I advise everybody, the transfer portal is right now is just insane in every sport.
It's gonna get worse. And look, I just try to tell, I mean, like you're 21 or 22 grad, like you got to think about it. Put yourself in a coach's shoes, like in so many ways. Like as soon as they announced that the NJCA, those guys get an extra year. So you got to think about guys there that are sophomores, okay, that have now going to have 60, they're going to have college credits. They've adjusted to college. They've got 2 years of strength and conditioning. They're going to have about a year and whatever gameplay and all that. And then we get them as a freshman. I mean, like, to put us in our shoes, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? Like it's in a lot of ways, it's very advantageous for us. And I mean, especially, when we work the JC circuit pretty good. I mean, it's important, and it's a piece to recruiting. I mean, there's all kinds of pieces to it. It's a piece now. It's added another layer of, being a little more attractive for us in that regards. And also too, you think about it in our shoes. Like we get a young man, like in two of our more popular master's programs are our MBA and our sports education program. And we get that's very popular amongst baseball players and also junior college players. So now we can provide an option to put them on scholarship possibly and finish out they're going to have 4 years here, and they can get a master's done on scholarship. You know what I mean? During that time. So I've been telling, like, everyone's been like, high school, it's definitely affecting the young men. And I'm over, but also too, I was like, put yourself in our shoes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are we going to do? I mean, there's nothing more gratifying than developing a high school young man, watching him walk out the door and go, man, like, wow, look at that. But if you can help expedite that process a little bit, I mean, like, I'm only giving the other side of it a little bit as far as
Absolutely.
It goes,
so. And I think it's important for people to hear and realize that, coming from someone such as yourself. Coach, I want to get into now your roster size, what you do there, maybe your roster sizes that you had when you were at the different schools and all that, and also your recruiting philosophy. You touched on it a little, but I know that you have a lot of good information and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So just go through your, the roster sizes, what that means to kids, and, a lot of Division II schools now are going with the bigger roster sizes and having that developmental area thing, and those kids are actually playing games, against JCs, Division IIIs, everything like that. Talk a little bit about your philosophy in general, Coach, how you and your staff go about things, and maybe some of your past experiences and how you did it.
Yeah, 100%. And I've been on both sides of this, and up and down it in a lot of different ways. We were at Lock Haven. We had roster limitations, so I mean, we only had, oh geez, the number gets away from me. But we can only be at a certain number and do different things as far as that goes. When I was at Barton, we had a developmental program, and we did have a large roster, and I think it's a piece. And now at Gardner Webb, we have the only developmental program in all of Division I baseball. So what that is, and I want to make sure, is like, we recruit. There's young men out there that are looking for, an institution like Gardner Webb that has a strong Christian culture, that has the right major for them, a lot of different things, and affords them the opportunity to continue their baseball career. We do not sit there and try to recruit those young men and sell some dream that, you're going to possibly play in Omaha or something like that. Like, that's not what we do. We sell the institution, the opportunity, a lot of things on that end. But if you perform, you know, you can, you know, it can happen, but don't make the decision to come here based off of the dream to, you know what I mean? There's only so many of those stories in the, you know what I mean, in the world. And like, you know, I appreciate some of that, but we're upfront about it. You know what I mean? We're very upfront about it. So, you know, I just think it has to do a lot about what the decision with the young man. I mean, like, you know, you know, what, if you're putting the fit first, or you in the academic piece first over the baseball, you know, the developmental area might be a good way to do it. You know what I mean? And that could be a piece to what's going on. But yeah, there's a lot of different entities that are going on across baseball, and a lot of different ideas and a lot of different ways to go things. I mean, again, I just think this really leads to what's important to me is, you know, when we recruit, like, and it's not as much, you know, I've used this everywhere I've been, is like, you know, you've got to make your decision based off of these things to be important. Number one is it's got to be the right fit, meaning like it's got to be in the right. Do you want to go to a school that's in a city? Do you want to go in a rural area? What size school do you want? Do you want something that's like 1,000 students, 5,000, 30,000? You know what I mean? You know, like what is the right fit as far as that goes? What are you looking for? Okay. And then the next piece has got to be the academic piece. I'll never forget, like I was at Barton, got down south, sunshine and nice field, you know, we had a nice area, all that type of stuff. And we had kids visiting, and they're like, we didn't have their major that they wanted in after the visit, like, and then they were like, they wanted to commit. And I'd be like, son, like, I don't think this is the right, like, here's what's going to happen. You want to do this. You want to commit. You want to take that hat. You want to put it on a table. You want to have the signing day. You want to have the balloons. You want all the hoopla with Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and all that, blah, blah, blah. Well, listen, that all goes away, because eventually you got to come here and do these things. And next thing you know, you're here a semester and you go, wait a second, like, I don't really like what I'm studying. I don't like what I'm doing. And all that goes away. And I try really hard to, like, you know, you got to get past the fluff and really get into the nuts and bolts about why you're making a decision. And I say it all the time, you know, also too, like, you mean the finances come into a piece, you know what I mean? Like, you're looking at this, like, you know, what can you afford? What do you want? You know, a lot of times, or, you know, when you're coming, how much debt are you going to have? You know, what are you getting with your debt? You know what I mean? Like, what type of, you know, what education in those fields? Because I've never heard of a college that had a bad education. Anybody ever hear that? Everyone says that's a great school. No doubt. They're all great schools. And all of them are stronger in certain areas. You know what I mean? So you've got to really do your research as far as what's important, what's not. And that's how I try to guide a lot of players and different things, you know, down the roads that they want to do. So again, I know I might kind of jumped around a little bit there, but I think that's all important stuff.
I'm going to tell you what, you're bringing up such great points. Yeah, I mean, you use that right fit. I wish I had a dime for every time I'm talking to my kids and everything about that. And you bring up that, you know, the rural, the size, everything. It all comes, I mean, like my clients on their profile, we have a really good profile and everything like that, to where you can go on and it has every college that's out there in America. And I'm like, parents, go on. If you hear from Gardner, let's say Gardner, Webb, and you're up here and you're like, man, I really don't know anything about it. Go on. There's Coach Jim Chester. You hit you click on his name. An email will come up straight to him that you can send. His office phone number's there, every bit of information, the conference that Gardner Webb plays in, their enrollment, school website. Go on and research the academic programs and everything that they have. The athletic website. Go look at the facilities, look at the roster, look at the kids, see everything. All the research tools are out there, but yeah, it's like you said, you have to do the work and put it in and do your research. The other thing that I was going to talk about is and you can help this communication. I am so big into, you know what, establishing relationships with the coaches where
Mm-hmm.
you want to go. And you know, some people they're like, well, I'm going to do this once a week, and I always tell them, I'm like, I've been there, I know what a little bit, not like you, but I know what it's about and how I was. College coaches, I tell them, suffer from instant gratification syndrome, and that is if they're taking their time and that to sit there and contact you and you know, hey, you know, give me a little bit more information, send me this, send me that. You know, to wait a week to get back to a college coach is just unheard of. So I actually put my kids on what I call the 24-hour rule, and it's like, if Coach Chester's gets a hold of me today, it is 10:39. By 10:39 tomorrow morning, I better sit there and reach back out to him the same way he reached out to me. And I always tell
Mm-hmm.
my kids, I'm like, you always want to answer your last sentence to be a question with them, and they're like, "Oh, coach, why is that?" I said, "What do you want them to do?" And they're like,
Fun. Yeah.
"Respond." I mean, you got it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And right away, I mean, the coach is going to say, "Okay, we're trying to get the ball rolling," you know, going to find out a little bit about him, and you get the information ball rolling and everything like that. But I mean, talk about it just from you've heard me. How important is that communication process with recruits through you and your staff?
It is, and let me take you on a little bit of a timeline because I think I'm one of the guys that's kind of like, you know, when I got into this business, you know, I used to have to go back into the office to make recruiting calls, and you would make them from after school till about 5 o'clock, and then you used to respect from about 5 to 6:30 because that's probably when
Dinner.
families used to eat dinner and did a lot of different things. And then you could pick it back up and you'd call until about 9 o'clock. Like 9 was kind of like, whether it be family / bedtime, whatever it might be, you just kind of out of respect, you know what I mean? And you'd call, leave something on an answering machine, and then they would call back, and usually we're on the office phone, and they'd leave a message. You check the message and call back. So, you know, and boy, has that changed.
Yeah.
That's changed dramatically. You know, and a lot of things kind of facilitated to the email, and then the email used to be, it is still good, don't get me wrong, but it's gotten to the point where, like, you know, you used to get a lot of personal emails from players, and they would take the time to handcraft a message, and you'd be able to get a lot out of when you read a message from a player. Like, you'd be able to really gauge, you know, what they're about and how they wrote a lot of times. And then you know, it's gotten to the point now, it's, you know, and I'm just going to be frank, like the handcrafted message now, most of the time it's from the parent,
Yeah.
you know, and I've been doing this long enough. I know
You
real
know.
quick who wrote it and who didn't, you know what I mean? Because I know how I wrote and spoke at 18 versus, you know what I mean, how I do at 40. And so, and then intertwined with that is came in with the services, and they're all great, like what you guys do and a lot of people. But when the services now have generated these mass emails, I mean, coach, right now today, okay, now again, I got up at 5:45 this morning, okay, and I wake up, and the first thing is I do, like everybody else in this world, right? You check your phone, okay, in so many ways. I grab my phone. I've got probably just at that time, like from the night before or whatever. I mean, I'm being serious, and I'm not trying to say like, okay, I'm important, but I'm just saying, like, I probably got a dozen recruit emails. I probably got 6 or 7 Twitter DMs. I've got at least Instagram DMs. I've got Facebook Messenger stuff. I feel like I communicate well. I take that as a, you know, within my group and what we do as a staff and our players and everything we do inside my resources in relationships. I take pride in communicating. I can't respond to. I would never get anything done if I sat there and just responded to every single DM, IM, email, you know what I mean? And like, it's extremely difficult. It becomes cumbersome. And it really, like, if there's a coach out there that can do that, like, I tip my cap, because
Exactly.
it's really tough. And it's like, you know, a lot of times you know, we meet or talk, whatever, like, or I get something and it's like, I sent you an email. I'm like, I appreciate that, but man, you know what I mean? It's gotten, you know what I mean? Do you know it's completely gotten, like, you don't get anything now? It used to be, used to send, players used to send like CDs in the mail with a letter,
Yep.
sometimes a handwritten letter.
Yep.
And like, I still love handwritten notes. I do them all the time. I still write some stuff, especially people that I'm close to and like have made an impact in my life, or just something, a personal touch, you know, whatever it might be. I'm big into it, but I don't get anything. I don't get anything. And again, because I get all the time, what's the right way to communicate? And again, I don't know, to be honest, because it's gotten so cumbersome that it's difficult. Do you know what I mean? And now working with people like you, and just, I've got a group of people that I'm just close with all across the country and parts of the world, where I'm like, hey, I need this. Like, what do you got?
Exactly.
And that's kind of gotten to the piece, because it's hard. And this might not be what like parents or kids want to hear, but like, I'm just speaking the truth. You know what I mean? I'm not going
Coach,
to, you know.
it's this is one of the reasons that I'm doing this. I mean, it's so people can hear directly from the schools and coaches and how things are done. I mean, the one thing, you know, like, I know Student Athlete World will send their stuff out, but I mean, you can attest with me. I will send a lot of mine are individualized,
No,
personal
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
recommendations. And this is somebody that you might want to contact with a need. But I mean, what you're saying, I talk to my people all the time, and I'm like, do not do. I said, coaches will figure out if mom or dad did that. It's so funny. Like on our profiles, we have a place at the bottom of the first personal page, and I'm like, first impression you're going to make on that coach when he opens your profile is what you wrote about yourself. And I said, they'll know if you write it. And the thing is, when they get done doing it and putting it on their profile, I always tell them, I'm like, text me. I want to go in and see it. I don't want to see misspelled words, bad punctuation.
Yeah, definitely a piece.
I don't want you to evaluate yourself. I want you to tell, hey, you know, this is when I really started liking baseball, and this is what I like about baseball. This is how how I see my family. This is how
Mm-hmm.
what I want to see, you know, moving forward with my career in college and baseball. And I said, they're going to be able to tell right there if it's going to be a fit. And I said, they're going to have that great first impression, and they're going to have another one. I've had so many representatives of companies say, Tom, you do such a great thing. How are you successful? I said, my kids are successful, and I teach them to communicate, and I teach them to have good communication tools.
Well, Coach, I'll elaborate on that a little bit. I'll tell you what's important to me. I mean, that stuff is great, and there is a piece to that. My assistants probably sift through that a little bit more than I do. I mean, again, let me be frank. We're trying to recruit when we do. You know, I wouldn't say we're trying to recruit the best players in North Carolina. That's difficult based on the landscape. There's a few good programs in our state. You know, so it's difficult to, excuse me, sometimes getting that mix, but we're looking for the best players in the Northeast. We're looking for the best, you know, some different guys in different sections of the country. And, you know, we're recruiting with our niches, you know what I mean, in a lot of ways. And what's important for me is to get the player to campus. Okay. Now we've had a dead period of this stuff, so it's been a little different. So, I mean, even when we Zoom or we do the FaceTime tours or whatever we're doing as far as that goes, you know, I'm looking for a couple things. Like, you know, first of all, I want to see, you know what I mean? What's the young man's, you know what I mean? His presence, what's his posture? How does he shake my hand? Does he look me in the eye? Can he carry on a conversation with me? Does the parent dominate the visit? Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of things. where I'm going to get a feel. I mean, and I've gotten more into this, like, it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long. And we'll get done with the visit, and I'll look at our guys and I go, nope, ain't happening. Or I go, oh, yeah, this is it. Because I've gotten to the point in my career, and I mean this, like, you know, I got two small children, and my family is extremely important to me, just like everybody else. And, you know, I spend more time around our team than I do my own family. And our team is an extension of my family. I love our guys as much as I love my children in a lot of ways. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So I gotta have a great, you know what I mean, rapport with you, and you got to carry some of the same intangibles that I feel that, you know, myself and our staff has, and our program is in so many ways. But, you know, if you can't have a conversation with me on a recruiting visit, or you can't look me in the eye when you talk, or you can't shake my hand with some authority and have a presence about you, then how are you going to help us win a championship?
You're exactly right. Exactly. All great points and great information for, you know, people to hear when I'll publish this a little later today. You know, moving on a little bit. Baseball philosophy. Every coach is different. You know, you build your resume from your mentors. You take all the good things that people have taught you, and you implement that into your style and try to carry that. The Gardner Webb philosophy, according to Coach Jim Chester. Yeah, you're on with it.
Okay, yeah, no doubt. So, you know, as the years go on, you coach a lot of different teams, and you've got a lot of different personnel and personalities and a lot of different things. So what's kind of like, here's the philosophy in a lot of ways, and it's going to be a hair vague, but it's, you know, we recruit the best players possible. Okay, like, we're trying to find the best players, again, with the makeup that we're talking about in a lot of ways. I'm talking about from a baseball standpoint. You know, we're looking for the best players, whether that means they hit home runs, whether they steal bases, what they run, whatever it might be. And I think that what we do is we try to find the right fit and the best player we can, and then we adapt our style to the players that we have. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Listen, this year coming up, we have got some men walking around the field. We've got guys. We have 3 6-year guys. We have a bunch of 5th-year guys, and we got guys a year away from a mortgage. You know what I mean? I'll tell you what, we got some older guys. I'm telling you, it's gonna be an interesting dynamic. But we've got some guys that can hit the ball out of the yard and do some different things and all that. But then, you know, as we look forward, I mean, next year we're probably gonna be a polar opposite. We're gonna have some really good athletes, some different things. So the way we run our program and the way we manage our team this year is going to be way different than the way we manage it next year. Do you know what I mean? As far as we're doing some different things. So again, when we go out and we're trying to, like, when I talk about philosophy, you know what I mean? You know, we're looking for guys that can put pressure on a defense. Okay. So that means, again, can you get the right mix of speed and offense and power and a lot of different things? Or, you know, are we going to go all speed, or are we going to go all power? It's all going to depend on how the recruiting class, and how different things start to mold is going to depend on how we go about our team in that regard. So, you know what I mean? I put a lot into, and I listened to a little bit of JT, because I when I was watching what you said, but he said he recruits pitchers and hitters, and that was a lot of what, you know, we tried to build our team around at Greater Allegheny, because it was different. We weren't getting 6'6" runners or 6'7" guys. I mean, we had, you know, we were getting guys that had, you know what I mean? They were kind of maybe getting through the cracks, had one tool and had to develop another, whatever it might be. So I get, like, I know what he's trying, like, you know, I mean, we lived a little bit of that. So, I mean, I appreciate hearing some of that. And there's a lot of validity to what we're doing too at Gardner Webb. And a lot of times, you know, what type of surface do you play on? I mean, we play on a turf surface. So how much can we sacrifice on defense to add to offense? You know what I mean? There's a lot. Or, you know, you're able to utilize speed a little bit more on turf. I mean, there's a million different ways to look at it. How does your park play? I mean, we play X amount of, you know, we're being a Southern D1, we're going to play probably more home games than we do away in so many ways, right? So, you know, how does your park play? Where does the ball fly out? You know what I mean? What are the dimensions? You know what I mean? Like, is it a pitcher's park, hitter's park? So, again, there's so many variables, and you know what I mean? And I can't tell you we always recruit right to every single one. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm more about culture and fit than I am about, you know what I mean, exact ability. So, you know what I mean? I know I really danced around that a good bit, but, you know, I don't – listen, I adapt with everything. You know, I just talking to you about, like, calling from the office phone to now on Instagram, you know what I mean? And like, so I'm going to adapt, and that's what we're going to do with our rosters and our program year in and year out.
Awesome. Just to get one little thing into that, you know, you're talking about, you know, you have an older team and a mature team and everything. Philosophy-wise, a little bit, do you structure them, coach, or do you give them a little bit of leeway?
We're a little bit of so that's a great question, Coach. It's a great question. I appreciate you asking.
Do you let them decide on their own the green light, but you know, based on that stuff, you know,
100%,
everything like that.
100%. I mean, we've got, you know, it was an interesting fall as far as you asked some of that, because we came off a canceled season, right? But and then we got guys that are going through their 5th or 6th fall. Do you know what I mean? So it's like there's the energy to get back on the field, but then there's the like, oh, here we go again type thing. This group's been different, like where, you know, you know, and again, I'm a like detail oriented. Like I'm like, you know, we got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, we got to push, we got to grow, we got to do that. And some of those guys don't need as much of that as they did in the past. You know what I mean? So I've been all over the place as far as some of that goes, where we're giving those guys a little bit more of a leniency and a lot of that. Like they get it. Do you know what I mean? Like they know what they need to do, and they remember. So there is a little bit of like, I don't want to call it pro ball approach, but we got a little bit of that going on with that group. But then also, I feel like we got a really talented freshman class where they need a kick in the rear end. So you know, it's a little bit on both ends. And like I've had a lot of like where I've been like with the older guys, and you know, and again, I think, you know, they may see our team, some of the guys on our team might see us or whatever, but this is the way it goes. You know, I've got some older guys, like 6th-year guys, where I'm like, hey, man, like, look, I'm probably going to jump you at practice today, but I don't mean anything by it. I just got to make sure that I keep – the younger guys don't think I'm always just on them all the time. And they're like, they're cool. I think it's funny. You know what I mean? Like, I saw rip into them a little bit.
They get it.
And then after practice, they text me, and they're like, that's good, Coach. That was a good one, you know?
And you know what? See, that goes into the psychological thing of and dealing with everybody individually. And it's like, hey, you know what? Here's this 23-year-old 6th-year guy. You know, I don't have to tell him that. Here you go with the 17 or 18-year-old coming in, and it's, you know, you might do it 3 days in a row, and your 4th day is, you know, why do I have to sit here and talk to you about this all the time and everything like that? But I mean, you know, everybody, that's a great thing for them to hear that, you know, you deal with everybody individually. And I think at times people don't realize how hard it is to sit there. As a good coach, I think that you have to be able to do that. You can't deal with everyone the same way, because everybody's different personalities. I mean, you know, like you, Coach, I could probably yell at you and everything like that. You'd sit there, nod your head, do everything. I could do that to another kid, and you know, right away they'd drop straight in the gutter from there. So, you know, knowing your kids, knowing the personalities, knowing how to make them tick and get what you want, that's a great thing that you bring up.
Well, if another coach is watching this, and this is the only advice I could ever give too about it, is like, and I do this with recruiting, and I do this with working with players, is every time I have a kid, I could tell every kid on our roster now, again, this is my 15th season as head coach, I can pinpoint one of our players and relate him to someone else I've coached. Sure. Every single one of them. And like, I'm like, I've dealt with this type of kid with this year, with this, you know what I mean? And it's helped me. And I can't tell you, maybe I haven't handled them. We all have our shortcomings. You know, I can't tell you that some guys I didn't handle right back X amount of years ago, but I learned from it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? In so many ways, and grew from it. So I can go down the list, and when we have a situation or something pop up, that's the first thing I do. And even with recruiting, when I see a kid and if he reminds me of somebody that really helped us or did some really good things, like I kind of recruit them, like, you know what I mean? Because I can feel that success coming down the road based off of previous experience.
Sure. It goes back into the thing of, you know, coach, we're I'm there, you're there, different levels, but constantly reevaluating. It's so fun. My wife will sit there and look at me after a practice or something like that, and if I'm quiet, she's like, "Okay, Tom's in that reevaluation phase," and it, you know, it could be a situation like that. It could be, you know, did I get what I wanted out of our first and third defense thing and everything like that. But we are that, and people need to realize that coaches are always thinking and evaluating. And great points.
Amen.
Well, I'm going to get kind of into your niche and something that I think that you do as well as anybody in the country. I want you to talk a little bit. You're a great camp guy, tournament guy, putting tournaments on to be seen. Talk a little bit about that. Then I'm going to ask you, you know, high school ball, travel ball, and then get into your fundraising. And I know fundraising, you could probably give me a 2-hour synopsis on. But just a little bit, you know, how you use your camps and tournaments to view. I mean, you touched on it a little earlier. We love to have kids on campus.
Yeah, and that's it. What's you know, I'll tell you what. We take pride, and everywhere I've been, we've tried to take pride in that we try to run like the best camp that we can and put on. I hate to use a show, but we try to do our best that our camps. Do you know what I mean? Kind of emulate a practice that we're going to run. You know, we're going to have a plan posted, and there's going to be we try to explain that to the young men, like, hey, listen, this is the schedule. We send it out like before the camp, and we say, you know, I just try to give them an idea, like, this is our program. This is what we do. And we try really hard, you know, every one of our coaches, for the most part, work the camp, you know what I mean, including myself. You know, I try to take pride in, like, I just don't give the speech and then walk away. Like, I run you know, I'm there working the camp. I mean, it's important. I want to see these guys do what they need to do and whatever it might be. Plus, I enjoy it. And within that, you know, we staff it with our players. And I try really hard every time that we have a camp, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. You know, we have a kid or a player working the camp that's a high school young, meaning he came to our program out of high school. We always have a player that came out of a junior college. We always have a player that was a transfer, like a 4-year transfer from all over the place. We try to get a young man that's from a long distance away. We try to get a young man that's local. We try to get a young man from, you know, maybe a different intermediate area. I mean, we do, and I mean this. This is what we do, and when we start camp, I tell every one of the players, I'm like, look, here's the players that are working this camp, and this is their story, and we take a couple minutes and we go through it. So, you know, I know all of you, you know, I know you want to be here and play, and we love you and we appreciate the interest, but at the end of the day, numbers aren't. It's probably, you know, a lot of it's not going to work, you know, but. There's all these entities across baseball, and I try to tell my story a little bit and like some of the levels that I've been at. Son, talk to me. Let's conversate. Here's the players that are closer to your age. Talk to them. This guy went to a junior college. This guy went here. This guy did this, you know, and really communicate and try to get an experience out of this. So I think that's why we've had some success with camps. I'm here from the bottom of my heart. We're genuine. We try to make them cost effective. And we try to provide an awesome experience. And we do. We sign a lot of players out of our camps. I think it's important. And we do a lot of our recruiting through it, meaning like we get a lot of young men that kind of meet a physicality / measurable / end of things. We just can't get to see them. I'm like, you love Gardner Webb. You love, you know, and come to our camp, because that's how it's going to really try to make a move in the right direction as far as that goes. So, I think that's why we've had some successes, because we're genuine, and everything I told you there is real. You can ask any coach that ever coached with me. You guys, everybody, like, we plan it out.
I've been there. I've seen what you do, and like I said, I mean, I am looking forward to this summer coming down and bringing. I told Tim Jones, and when I said we're taking our team down to Gardner Webb with Coach Chester for his tournament. And you know, when you were up at Lock Haven, we Timmy Banner and I would be bringing the kids up, and
I do remember. Yeah, absolutely.
they were just some well-run tournaments with you know people that were there, and it was good for everybody. Um, high school ball coaches and travel ball coaches. High school ball, travel ball. What's more important to you, or is there a general mix, coach?
They're both important. They're both extremely important. They're both extremely important. And you know, I know the exposure piece comes a lot out of the traveling. I think it's really help from a recruiting standpoint in a lot of ways. Like, a lot of things are more centralized. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, you know, like when you head to maybe not this year, but in any other year, that Fort Myers thing might be a little more packed with, you know, with the dead period with Division I. I mean, it's difficult in that way. But you know, doing the stuff at down at Lake Point and different things, that's a different world, you know, and it's helped. And it streamlines a lot of things, and it helps probably schools with not the best budgets in so many ways to get out and do some things. But, you know, I think what's important is, like, you know, it's become, you know, working with guys like you and different travel organizations, like, it's become, you know, that's become a huge piece, obviously, and kind of the driver in regards to recruiting. But it can't be lost to the high school coach in a lot of ways. It can't be, because, you know, that travel coach does know the player. There's no doubt, right? There's no doubt. And they have a really good understanding about the family and the player and a lot of things. But that high school coach gets to see that player in a whole different light. They get to see them interact outside of baseball in a lot of ways, if they're a teacher in the school or have a position or they live in the community, you know. So there's something to be said for that gentleman too. And it's great to hear on all of them. I can't tell you we're perfect on getting feedback from every single high school travel, everybody involved, but I try, you know what I mean? Like, when our coaches get jumpy about a player and they get real excited about something, and especially, like, I'm like, have you talked to this person? Have we done this? Have we done that? And I try to do some of the digging and getting into where we need to be, because a lot of that's just as important as the 60 and the arm strength in a lot of different ways. And we talked about that earlier. So I think they're both extremely, extremely important. And if I sat here and said 50-50, I don't think that's fair, because I think in different instances that scale goes up and down depending on, you know what I mean, what the situation is in a lot of ways. But I tell you, I call high school, especially again, you know, I've been able to build some roots in North Carolina. There's no doubt, and I'm way better with the map of the state now than I was when I first got there, obviously. But, you know, we're recruiting a Pittsburgh kid. I can get that dirt pretty quick.
Absolutely.
Dirt's probably the wrong word, but insight's probably the right end of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be able to get a whole travel, high school, you know what I mean? A little bit of everybody. I feel you're going to be able to get a good idea. But the high school coach, I think that person's got taken out of the equation a little bit too much. And I think it's important that there's communication from that end.
I agree. Well, I'm going to get into a big thing with you now, fundraising. And I know that, you know, probably when you were back before and even now, I mean, you are a fundraising guru. You as far as being able to raise money for your school, your program, and everything else. I'm just letting you go to it. You talk about fundraising and the importance that it plays in your programs.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know if I'm a guru or not, but I'll explain to you some small
You're a
things.
go-getter.
Yeah, well, you know, listen, Let me start off. Let me start with this. Is like, listen, if you are there in baseball, okay, in baseball, if you're a high school baseball coach, you're a fundraiser. If you're a junior college baseball coach, you've got to be a fundraiser. If you're a Division III, Division II coach, you are a fundraiser. I don't care. And listen, I'm a Division I baseball coach, right? Blessed, no doubt, no doubt. It's great to say that. I feel great. I got to fundraise. It's a piece to it. There's certain places in the country, and you could probably count them on two hands, where the coach can walk in and say, I need a new player development center built by next spring. And it gets done. Or I need $25,000 for this, and it gets done. Okay. Unfortunately, and there, I've never worked at a place like that. I have no idea. I have been blessed, though. I've been so blessed with every place that I've been at. I've had supportive bosses where I've been able to lay out a plan and say, I'd like to do this. This is how we get there. This is what it costs. And, having a plan and being able to communicate it and having a way to execute it, been able to, get some things done. And I've had bosses that they've kind of said, I'm going to get out of your way, go do it. And that's great as far as it goes. Coach, I'll tell you this, and this is this couple of things. Number one is I wake up every day thinking about an opportunity or a way to make our program better, whether it's developing our players, our facility, whatever it might be. We're going to figure out a way to get better. And when I wake up one day and I don't have that in my belly, I'm going to get out of this, because I'm cheating the kids. I'm cheating the place that I work for. And I'm taking away an experience and all those many things. So every day, you could ask our assistant coaches, they think I'm crazy, because I walk around the facility every day and I go, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this. And I was like, there's just constant on that end. What I try to do is I try to emulate the experience that I had in college and the experience I had in other places. Again, I told you again, I played Division III baseball. It was the greatest experience I could have had. I loved it. Teal's a special place to me. And within my own means, I try to pay it forward every year. Okay. And I know that there's everywhere I've played and everywhere I've coached, there's people that have had those same experiences. It's all about building relationships and not being afraid to ask. And I just know that when I've been able to build relationships and then when you have a vision and you have a plan and you have something that, people want to rally around growth and visions. So everywhere I've been, I've just been able to have a little bit of a vision and have a plan for what we want to do. And I've had alumni or supporters of the program go like, that's cool. I'd like to do that. How can I help? And every time you can build that relationship strong enough and they say, how can I help? You have it at the tip of your fingertips. This is how you can help in that way. With everything, we've been really blessed at Gardner Webb. We've got a good bit done in a short period of time. And from that aspect, and all it took was just having a plan, a couple ideas. How can we grow? We were small piece. We renovated our bullpen, right? We've been able to we went from having probably one of the worst bullpens in our league to, I don't want to say one of the best in the country, but I'd say we're in a good place as far as it goes, just being able to just have the things that we need to go. Yeah, no doubt. Just night and day, right? And again, just use a round number. It cost us 15, 17 grand to do this. And went able to go, and there's some guys in our program that played there that were pitchers, and I go, it's like, I explain it to them about your own children. I want my children to go above and beyond and do anything that I've ever done. And I explain that to a lot of times alumni. I'm like, look, here's the young men here now. You want them to have it better than you did. And you have the opportunity to do that for them. And it's, these are just small little things. But again, I could talk a lot about it's relationships. It's like anything else. It's just building relationships, trust, having a vision, and showing growth.
A point that too, and all great things and great information, Coach. One of the points that I wanted to get, Hey, every level of, the NCAA and NAI has different scholarship levels and everything
Hmm.
like that. I don't think I think that there are so many parents that think that, wow, okay, you have 11 and a half, you have 12, and it's just automatically there. Talk like, and I tell them, I'm like, okay, let's look at Division II baseball, and what is it, 9.5 or 8, or it's right around.
It's nine even at D2.
Yeah, 9. And the thing is, I'm like, maybe 15 or 20% of all Division II schools have that amount of scholarships to throw out. Am I?
If that.
Yeah, exactly. And there, but people will kind of look at you bewildered, and they're like, "Well, this is what it is." And I'm like, I will, I'll use some. I won't name them, but I mean, the coaches are constantly fundraising to sit there and get more money to get in that scholarship thing. And they're like,
Oh
so
yeah.
they're fundraising to get money for their own school. Doesn't the NCAA? I'm like, the NCAA plays the good guy. I mean, throughout this whole thing, they've taken the good guy approach and everything like that. And oh sure, you know what, you guys can have all of this, the extra eligibility, but they're not paying for it. I said the schools are on the line to be able, I mean, University of Wisconsin football, we're not bringing people back for that extra year and everything
Yeah.
because we don't want to do it. So I just think that was an important mix to get out there to for people that are watching, that, you know, hey, while it says you can have 9, scholarships and all that, a lot of people don't have it, and that's the thing, and the important thing when you get in and you're like, okay, well, I'd really like to go here, and then they end up getting $500, and it goes to the financial thing and everything like that, and people go, well, geez, that school just slapped me in the face or something like that. I'm like, they have 4 scholarships, and as well as I do, yeah, the big part of that money is coming in with the right and left handers on the hill.
Yeah, no doubt. So I'll give you like a quick little timeline. So like it's kind of like niches and different things. And when I get done with this over all the levels, it'll give a good message, I believe, to the people that might be watching this and understanding. So let me start at Penn State, Greater Allegheny. So some of the best players that we had in our program came from the City League. So that ended up being a niche. Okay.
Mhm.
And in the middle of my time there, they came out with what was called the Pittsburgh Promise. And I'm not sure if that's still intact, but I think it is. But
Yes.
what it was, I mean, we were getting guys coming to Greater Allegheny on full rides because of the Pittsburgh Promise. And the city wasn't being recruited that heavy. So me and Coach Joe Rinaldi, who's still in the area at Bethel Park, him and I we'd be scouring. We would go watch Westinghouse and Peabody and Alderdice and everybody. And we were getting these kids out of here, and they were tough kids that could play. And they were like, what kind of scholarship can we get? I'm like, if you qualify for this Pittsburgh Promise, you're going to get you're on scholarship, you get a full, like we were given scholarships without giving athletic scholarships. You know what I mean? It was an outside entity. So that's where we were able to get some success. I'll look you dead in the eye. And at Lock Haven, we had 1.8 scholarships. That's what we had.
Absolutely.
1.8. And that's what we had to get it done with. And people would be like, what? And I'm like, whatever. Yeah. Guys were on $500, $1,000. You know what I mean? As far as it goes. Now, Barton, we were in a little bit better of a place. We spent about 6 my time there. And there's a lot of different equations and different things that helped you maybe get the other numbers and different things. And right now at Gardner Webb, we are not at 11-7. We're not. And there's not a lot of programs that are. But I will tell you, with everybody involved, and especially even too, like at a place like Gardner Webb or some of the privates and all that, your grades matter. They matter a lot. we've got we have 2 outstanding students at Gardner Webb that are on. These 2 young men are going to be good players for us down the road. They're not on $1 athletically, not $1, but they are on such a good academic package, and we're able to qualify for a certain, you know what I mean, academic and things.
Yep.
They're on a deal that, like, I hope my children, do you know what I mean,
Yep.
are able to get on. I mean, it's unbelievable what they're able to do. So, you know, if you're like, here's the thing that I try to explain. If you're going to go do all the things you're going to do, and the resources that you guys provide with your organization, and the exposure, the communication, and all that's what should be like the forefront of it. If you're going to try to do the things that you're able to try to get in return a college scholarship, don't do it. It isn't there. Take the understanding that you're going to get your scholarship from the academic piece, okay, and be able to get the discount that you want on your education through that end of it, more than a baseball scholarship, because there's no full rides. There's no full ride. If I gave someone a full ride at Lock Haven, we wouldn't have a team. So you know what I mean? So there wasn't that opportunity. So I encourage anyone looking at the coaches, players, parents. You got to understand like that high school GPA, SAT, ACT score. Like, man, I mean that's so big for us. It's huge because we have some really good academic packages that we're able to do some good things for some guys without having to, put a lot of baseball money into it.
Sure, absolutely. I'll tell you what, I mean, it's funny you bring up Lock Haven, but one of your players who, I just loved him as a player. We've talked about him before. Still talk to him. He comments on all my stuff, Demetrius Haskins. And I see you smiling. And I'll tell you what, he was a player, coming out of the city league and everything like that. And, good thing. The points that you bring up, that you had just brought up, that I'm going to do an interview with one of my clients and his dad, and we're going to talk about his recruiting process. His name's Nick Terrassi. He was a Shady Side Academy kid, but he's the closer up at Allegheny now. And big thing, he was that tweener, D2 schools looking, D3 schools, and it was funny that they were like, well, we're going to maybe take a look at this 50% that we get for the Division II. I said, wait till you get the offer from the Division III schools. And he really liked Allegheny. And it was funny, we'll talk about it later in the thing. And, just the academic money alone coming from D3 and he was good academically. I mean, the package was so much more, and he went to the school that he wanted to be at. And it's been a great thing.
The right fit, right?
You're exactly right. The right fit. And then tonight, you might want to watch. I have your guy Andy Bednar and Will coming on. Who?
Do you?
Yeah, who I coached with and coached Will in high school.
That's awesome.
Little different path there and everything, and we'll talk about it.
But his son's a great story. Not Will, but David. He coming out of high school. Yeah, he was he was a Division I, high-end D2 guy, in so many ways. Do you know what I mean? He was a stud. I mean, I love it. You know what I mean? It wasn't hard to not love him. You know what I mean? But now look. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable.
Throwing 98 with the Padres in their setup or closer thing, and it'll be funny, and Dave might jump in and Danielle too, because they all have their recruiting stories. But that'll be a fun one talk tonight. So, and that's what I'm trying to get. People at the different levels and everything, and their stories, and hear from the coaches. Yeah, I just think that people need to understand and hear the truth about the recruiting process and how it goes. And you coaches, that are contacts of mine are doing such a great thing. I'm going to talk to Terry Smith up at Penn State, their defensive coordinator. I have some D1 softball people coming on and some other people. So I just want to thank you for everything that you do for baseball. Like I said, I'm looking forward to coming down uh, to Gardner Webb this summer, and meeting, interacting with your players while we're there. Um, Not to put you on the spot or anything, but a couple people, and I know how you are, like from the Rawlings organization, were asking if we could get a tour of campus and everything like that when we were there, and just
Yeah,
want
we'll figure
I
that
was
out.
like, yeah, I said, coach will figure out something so that kids can get to see everything while we're there, while we're participating, because it's a good thing. The Pittsburghers don't get down to the nice weather and all that too often. So we're looking forward to it, and everything that you do. Great insight. I have a lot of respect for you and your coaching philosophies and how you built your programs. Coach, thank you so much, and I really appreciate it.
No, thank you, and thank you for what you do and your organization with baseball. And it was an honor to spend some time with you. And I know we're snowed in, and I mean, I'm gonna enjoy this, but I don't know, I'm gonna continue to make it long term. But it's a no, thank you again. Looking forward to having you guys down this summer, and anything your organization needs, just reach out anytime.
I appreciate it. Coach, thank you.
Take care.
You too.